So this guy Sauron says,
I'm gonna rule it all.
and has a bunch of rings made. Then he gives them to some people and says,
You're welcome.
but then he says,
Gotcha, bitch!
and makes a super secret special ring for himself. Then he says,
I'm the captain now.
and starts taking over. But some people say,
I don't think so.
and cut off his finger and he explodes, naturally. Then they're gonna destroy his ring, but this guy Isildur says,
No! No! No!
and keeps it for himself.
Jerk.
Then some orcs say,
Hope yours.
and shoot him.
Ouch.
Then years later, this guy Smeagol says,
It's so pretty.
and takes it off to some cave and loses a bunch of weight, and most of his hair. Then this little dude Bilbo says,
Finders keepers.
and takes it off to some mountain, then back to his home. Then he gets super old and says,
Bye-bye. 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 Bye-bye now. Bye.
and leaves the ring for his nephew Frodo. Then this wizard Gandalf says,
Put that thing back where it came from, or so help me! So help me! So help me!
and sends Frodo and 3 of his friends to this town called Bree. But when they get there, this dude Aragorn says,
Come with me if you want to live.
and starts leading them to this place called Rivendell. But on the way there, these scary ringwraith guys say,
The go calls to us.
and stab Frodo. Then Aragorn says,
Hello, you're fired.
and torches them all, and they say, and leave. But Frodo says,
I don't feel so good.
and this pretty elf lady named Arwen rides in and says,
Yippee-ki-yay, mother.
and races him to her dad in Rivendell. Then her dad heals Frodo, calls a big meeting, and says,
Which one of you nuts has got any guts?
then Frodo and 8 other people say,
I volunteer as tribute.
so they all start walking for a long time, but this bad wizard Saruman says,
Let it snow.
so the gang has to go through this big mine. But all the nice people they expected to find there say,
We can't talk to you. We're dead.
and a bunch of goblins say,
This is my house now.
and this big demon dude says,
Disturbs my slumber.
then Gandalf says,
Bitch, you can stop right there.
but demon dude says,
Whoopah!
and Gandalf says,
Fly!
and falls. And Frodo says, so the gang goes to this pretty forest full of pretty elves who say,
Gear! Yes, 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 yes!
then the gang says,
I'm on a go, mother!
but have to stop to rest for a while and get attacked by a bunch of freaks called Uruk-hai. And Aragorn says, and Boromir says,
3 darts is too much!
and Frodo says,
I'll do it myself.
and Sam says,
Not so fast, handsome.
I want to be in the sequel.
and the other hobbits say,
We need your help!
and the remaining guys say,
Let's go, go, go!
then the movie says,
I think we would have stopped now.
so Frodo and Sam are wandering in some mountains, and they say,
I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know where I'm going.
then Gollum, the artist formerly known as Smeagol, says,
Give me it. Give me it. Come on, give me it.
but the hobbits put a rope around his neck and say,
You're a slave.
and have him show them the way to Mordor. Then the other hobbits are being carried to Saruman, and Merry's getting his drink on, and the big orcs look at the little orcs and say,
Get in my belly!
then some horse people join the fight, so the hobbits say,
Oh, okay.
then the boys are hot on their trail, and this dude Aemir rides up and says,
I might have killed him, sir.
Whoops. Whoopsie.
then Aragorn says,
We're going downtown.
No! You blasted on my...
then he finds the hobbits' tracks and says,
Head into the dark forest.
so the hobbits are in the forest climbing a tree, and the tree says,
I'm alive!
and the hobbits say,
Tight, tight, tight!
and the tree takes them to a white wizard to see if they're cool. Then the boys run into the same wizard, and he says,
Guess who's back, back again?
so then Gollum leads Frodo and Sam to Mordor's front door, and Sam falls, and Frodo throws his cloak over him and says,
This is just a rock!
so they elude some bad guys, and Frodo says,
Let's go, dude.
but Gollum says,
Boy, have you lost your mind, because I'll help you find it.
and suggests a more secret entrance. So then Gandalf takes the boys to this place called Edoras, where the king is controlled by Saruman's magic. And Gandalf says,
The power of Christ compels you!
then King Theoden says,
You'll make me feel so young.
then Gandalf says,
You gotta fight!
but Theoden says,
To the Batcave?
so everyone starts moving to a place called Helm's Deep. Then Frodo and Sam are looking at some bad guys, and they say,
Don't think about elephants. What are you thinking about?
Elephants.
and get kidnapped by a guy named Faramir. Then on the road to Helm's Deep, some bad guys attack, and everybody says,
Who let the dogs out?
and Aragorn says, then Arwen's love ghost says,
Here, let me kiss it and make it better.
and Aragorn's horse says the same thing, so he rides to Helm's Deep. Then Faramir finds out Frodo has the ring and says,
You know what? I know we have a dangerous job to do here, but I'm taking this.
and Sam says,
Not a great plan.
then the guys at Helm's Deep say,
I think we'll be safe in here.
but then 10,000 bad guys say,
Are you sure about that?
and blow up the main wall. And the good guys say,
No fair.
But then Gandalf and Éomer show up and the good guys say,
Horses! Horses!
and save the day. Meanwhile, the tree guy discovers that Saruman's been doing some deforestation, and he says,
You done messed up!
and he and his friends go wreck Saruman's place. Then Frodo and Sam cause Faramir to have a change of heart, and he says,
You may go now.
so Frodo and Sam continue on to Mordor. Then the movie says,
We're gonna take a little break, but we'll be back in a while.
so Merry and Pippin are chilling on the ruins of Isengard when they see the boys riding up and say,
Welcome to the party, pal!
then Gimli says,
You made me run. I hate running.
then Pippin finds a pretty rock in the water and Gandalf says,
No, that is not a toy.
and takes it for safekeeping. But when everyone's asleep, Pippin says,
I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna touch it.
then Sauron says.
Tell me everything.
But when Pippin sees Sauron's next target, Gandalf says, and takes him off to a place called Minas Tirith, where they start a beacon lighting chain, and when Aragorn sees it, he says,
It was very lit.
and Theoden says,
Roll out.
and they ride off to help. Meanwhile, Frodo, Sam, and Gollum are rock climbing on some stairs, and Gollum says,
I don't eat carbs.
tosses all their bread, and frames Sam. So Frodo says,
Please go.
then Faramir's dad Denethor says,
Yourself.
and sends him on a mission. Then Aragorn says,
I'll get the Ouija board.
and the boys go to recruit some dead guys. Then the battle starts at Minas Tirith, and Denethor says,
We're dead! We're dead!
but then Gandalf says,
Bitch, please.
and takes command. Then Gollum leaves Frodo to the mercy of a giant spider, and Frodo says,
I've made a huge mistake.
but then Sam finds the bread Gollum threw away and says,
Oh, you motherfucker. Okay. All right.
and goes back to save Frodo. But Frodo's getting webbed up by the spider, so Sam says,
Let's go right now. Bring it on.
and beats the spider. But he thinks Frodo's dead, and some orcs show up and say,
Well, it just so happens that your friend here is only mostly dead.
and take him away. Then Denethor's gonna burn Faramir's body, but Pippin says,
There's a big difference between mostly dead and all dead.
but Denethor ignores him, so he runs to get Gandalf. Then Theoden and company finally show up to help, and they say, then Gandalf and Pippin save Faramir, and he says,
I'm not dead!
and Denethor says,
I'm gonna myself!
then the king of the Nazgul attacks Theoden, but Éowyn says,
What are you doing up there?
and Ringwraith says,
Stupid boy.
then Éowyn says,
Boys have a girls have a vagina.
and kills him. Then Theoden says,
So, I think I'm done.
and dies. Then Aragorn says, and sends the dead guys to heaven or something. Meanwhile, Sam saves Frodo from the orcs and says,
Your ring back.
and they start sneaking over to Mount Doom. Then the boys and friends say,
Maybe we can distract them.
and challenge Sauron to clear Frodo and Sam's path. And Aragorn says,
All right, chums up.
Ready, guys?
Let's do this. Leroy Dragons.
but when Frodo gets to Mount Doom, he says,
I'm the bad guy.
and decides to keep the ring. But then Gollum shows up and says,
I will bite your little finger off and I will eat it.
but Frodo says,
Man, you wanna wrestle?
and they fall off the edge, Gollum dies, and the ring is destroyed. But Frodo holds on, and Sam says,
Come here, get up. You're all right. You're all right. You're all right.
and they make it out. Then Gandalf says, and they fly to safety. Then back in Minas Tirith, he says,
The king has returned.
then years later, Frodo leaves Middle-earth, and Sam says, then he goes home and says, then the movie says,
That's a wrap.
and I say,
Thanks for the watch.
Please go.